Hello, I'm your host Atu Jamir and welcome to our talk show Unfiltered. The COVID-19 pandemic brought immense humanitarian challenges to people and countries. With it, however, also brought a greater urgency for medical technology to explore hitherto solutions to counter the threat of the virus pre- and post-infection. The growing number of vaccines has brought hope as well as skepticism, with a considerable number of people who are yet to receive the vaccine and those who refuse to take it. This subject has been discussed before, often in fact. However, there are comparatively new challenges in the terms of questions in regard to the actual effectiveness and efficacy of the vaccines, old and new medical findings about COVID-19 and treatment trends. In today's chat show, we will be discussing these various aspects, and to discuss about the various aspects of COVID vaccine, we have a special guest with us. We have Dr. Sheila Longcomer. She is the Surveillance Medical Officer, World Health Organization. So thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. So starting with the conversation, I'd like to ask this question. As we know, developing a vaccine, it takes years and years for scientists to develop a vaccine. But when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine, it was created or made in such a short period of time. So, how is that possible?
Okay, so developing a vaccine, yes, it takes many years to come up with a new vaccine. So it is only normal for many people to doubt this vaccine, because we know that the pandemic, it has only been about a year since this pandemic has started, and within a year many new vaccines are available to fight against COVID. So there are a lot of doubts as to how authentic these vaccines are, whether all the regulatory steps have been followed or not. So what we want to clarify is that all the normal steps that one would go through before authorizing a vaccine has been done for even for these COVID vaccines. Like, first they carry out the trials, the preclinical trials in the lab, followed by three stages of clinical trials where it is tried out where it is tested in a lot of people, and only after passing through all these safety procedures to determine the safety and efficacy of the vaccines, then only we would say, then only that this vaccine is it passes that safety and efficacy test. And at the same time, the regulators, the drug regulators also, they regulate all these steps. So in a normal process in the development of a vaccine, these steps between each and every phase take a lot of time. But for the sake of this pandemic, all these steps have been cut short, where the regulators and the scientists worked hand in hand in order to speed up the process. So we can be assured that whatever vaccines are available now for the public have passed through all the safety procedures and have been authorized, and has passed the those regulatory tests by the drug regulators.
Okay, so you're saying the regulation process was the same, but the time was just cut short.
Yes, because they were working hand in hand in order to cut short the time that is taken in between each and every step.
Okay, also, could you please tell us more about what is vaccine safety?
Okay, vaccine safety, like I was mentioning earlier, all these vaccines are first tested for safety, to make sure that it is safe for us, for the people. So so whatever vaccines are now being made available, they have been authorized to be used. But at the same time, there is also a surveillance for adverse effects following immunization, because just in case some people undergo some adverse effects following immunization, then this surveillance would catch those cases, and subsequent investigations would follow. So it is not that these vaccines has just been released and then all the people are being vaccinated without any surveillance that is going side by side for any adverse effects following immunization.
Okay, so how do we know that these COVID vaccines that are being administered are safe?
So, so far many people have already been vaccinated. In our state alone also, more than 12 lakh doses have been given, and not a single person has undergone any adverse events following immunization due to the vaccine alone. So we can say that it is safe. Whatever is being administered, it is safe.
Also, talking about the effectiveness of the vaccine, we can see that if those people who are even vaccinated, they get infected again. So how does that vaccine work in that way?
So the purpose of COVID vaccines is to prevent people from going into the severe form of the disease, so as to prevent hospitalization and even deaths. So that is the main purpose of vaccination. It may not be able to prevent us from getting infected, because now we are in the midst of a pandemic. There is active transmission going on across the community. So the virus is everywhere. So when many people around us are not vaccinated also, we can never say that we are safe even though we are vaccinated. So there have been instances where even after getting fully vaccinated, there are instances where some people have been infected, although they have undergone the milder form of the disease, or they have been asymptomatic all along.
Also, talking about being vaccinated, people usually believe that now that you're vaccinated, you don't need a mask or to protect yourself. So could you please say something on that as well?
Yes, even though we get vaccinated, we need to follow all COVID appropriate behaviors, because like I was saying that since this disease is still all around us, so we have to do all that we can to help preventing the spread of the disease. And if we are careless, if we don't follow COVID appropriate behavior despite being vaccinated, we may spread the infection around to other people around us. It may be the old, it may be the vulnerable people around us, to whom we will be the the carrier of the infection just by being careless. So we have to follow all COVID appropriate behavior, that is wearing mask, washing hands, and watching distance, keeping social distancing until and unless this pandemic comes to an end.
And also adding up to that and talking about the pandemic, I think it has been about 2 years now, and with every passage of time there's a new variant, and also there's mutated virus. So does the vaccine protect us from getting a new strains, or is it something like that? How does it work?
Yes, so we have seen that, especially now in the second year of pandemic, we have seen new mutations of this virus, which has caused again some panic amongst the people that the vaccine that we are receiving now will not provide adequate protection. But all these available vaccines, they do provide adequate protection. It has been seen through evidence that it does provide adequate protection against all the identified strains so far.
And also talking about vaccines, we have about 3 vaccines now added more. So we have Covishield, Covaxin, and also Sputnik V. So when you which one is better when you talk about efficacy? Which one is more effective?
So all the available vaccines, they are equally effective in protecting oneself. And right now here in our state, Covishield is widely available, and we have a couple of private hospitals where Sputnik V is being offered. So it is up to the person what vaccine they want to take, because all the available vaccines, they provide the same amount of protection against COVID.
Okay. See, I think we have had a lot of cases where people, after they get, the vaccine, they have side effects. So when you have side effects, does it mean the vaccine is working, or, how do you explain that?
Yes. So this side effects that you're talking about is the adverse events following immunization that I had referred to earlier. So these are common AEFIs that would that most of the people would go through, like fever, pain, redness at the injection site. They might have headache, body ache. So these are all minor. These are not serious. These are minor AEFIs that happen commonly to most of the people. So and there are a few lucky people who don't have any of these AEFIs after getting vaccinated also. So it does not mean that it is not working on them. Everyone's body responds differently to the vaccine. So some people may not experience any symptoms at all, but some people may have these kind of symptoms like fever for 1 day, 2 days, body aches and all. But these are all treatable just by taking the commonly available medicines like paracetamol and all, which almost I'm sure everyone has in their household. So this is nothing to worry about. These are just the normal expected side effects that one would experience after getting the COVID vaccine.
So when we talk about side effects, what could be, one of the most severe side effects that one could have after getting the vaccine?
Okay, the most severe AEFI that one could experience is called anaphylaxis, which is very, very rare. And this anaphylaxis is a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine. So someone who experiences that will need immediate first aid, and all the session sites, all the sessions where this vaccine is being offered in our government health facilities, they have this emergency drug to treat this anaphylaxis then and there on the spot, which will save the life of the person. So as I mentioned, that this is very rare. Now I want to refer back to the measles rubella campaign that we had in 2018, where a lot of children between 9 months to 15 years were vaccinated with this MR vaccine. So in that entire campaign also, we did not have a single case of anaphylaxis. So as I mentioned, this is very rare, but in the event of an anaphylaxis occurring also, our session sites are prepared to treat that, because as I mentioned, this just needs that first aid drug which is already there available in all the session sites, and all the vaccinators have been trained to administer this medicine.
Also talking about COVID vaccine myths, there was a word going around town that if people are having strokes after getting vaccinated. So how likely is it to have a stroke?
Okay, so maybe what you are referring to must have been one incident where they were saying that this is due to the COVID, due to COVID vaccine. So the thing is, it does not cause strokes, and it does not lead to like all these kind of diseases that people spread about in social media, that it will make you die, and different kinds of rumors and misinformation we hear on social media. So coming back to that particular case, that person was already a known case of he already had this problem of seizures and fits in the past. So it was just coincidental that after getting the vaccine, he happened to have an episode of this stroke. So that's how this confusion came up. But as I was mentioning, we have this AEFI surveillance where all these kind of reports are investigated thoroughly by the medical team, and then we look into the clinical history, the clinical records. what treatment was being given, and then we arrive at a diagnosis as to whether this was really due to the vaccine or it was coincidental, it was due to a pre-existing health condition that the person already had prior to taking the vaccine.
Okay. So we have a lot more to discuss and a lot more to know about the vaccine doses, but there are also other myths and also rumors, or what could I say, claims on social media that the COVID vaccine could affect female fertility. So could you please say something on that as well?
Yes, rumors about the vaccines affecting the female fertility and all have been all around, and these are baseless and these are untrue. So these kind of rumors have also been floated in the past in relation to other vaccines like the polio vaccine, and as I mentioned earlier, the measles rubella vaccine when we had the campaign in the past. So these are all just rumors. There is no scientific basis as to these vaccines causing female infertility and all. So it's not true.
Also, there are claims that the COVID vaccine alters one's DNA as well. So what would you have to say about that as well?
Yes. So yes, probably this kind of confusion has come up because we know that Covishield is an mRNA vaccine. So this mRNA vaccine does not interfere with the human DNA in any form. What it does is when it's injected into a person, it will stimulate the body to produce a protein which is present on the surface of the coronavirus. So that same type of protein is produced by the body, and then the body, the immune response learns to recognize that protein and produce antibodies against it. So this is how the mRNA vaccine works, and it does not work it does not work on the DNA of the human.
So moving further, the health ministry has advised caution in vaccinating persons with a history of bleeding or coagulation. So how does a person know if he or she has that?
So this is a blood disorder where we commonly call it as hemophilia. So someone who suffers from this, when they start bleeding, it's very difficult for that bleeding to stop. So this kind of thing, people who have this bleeding or coagulation disorder, they can get vaccinated under the supervision of the treating physician. And also even other people like with heart disease or with some brain disease and also, they can get the vaccine as long as they are being supervised by their treating physician. It is safe to get vaccinated.
No, so if suppose somebody is contracted the coronavirus, so can that person get vaccinated when he's already infected with the virus?
When a person is undergoing the active stage of the disease, when you are currently infected with coronavirus, you will have to withhold vaccination for at least 3 months after recovery. So from the day you recover from the disease, when your symptoms stop, from that day, if you count another 3 months, that is the time when you can go and get vaccinated.
And also, as we know, the vaccines that we are getting, there's 2 doses. So suppose somebody misses the second dose out of unavoidable circumstances, so what should be done in that matter?
Yes, so right now the gap between the 2 doses is 84 days. So everyone is advised to come at the right time for the second dose, but if due to some unavoidable reason, or if the person has got infected with COVID in between, so this gap can be extended. So as and when you can immediately go and get your second dose, you are advised to go and get it, because it's not that just because 84 days has passed and your name will be removed from the app, it will always remain there. It's just that everyone is advised to get it at the right time, in time.
So is there anything as such that when you don't take the dose in the required time, the vaccine will, won't be that effective or anything? Is there anything like that?
Okay, I would say more like getting only the first dose does not give you the full protection, because what the first dose does is it just primes your body, it prepares your body it prepares your body to build that immune response, which we would get only after getting the second dose. So if we get only the first dose, we are what is commonly called as partially vaccinated. So only half of the process has started on your body. So with the second dose, that is what stimulates the production of antibodies in your body. So if for some reason the second dose is delayed also, it's okay, but as long as you get the second dose, that is what completes the entire process and you will be termed as fully vaccinated.
So it doesn't matter if your time has passed and
Yes.
if you get it later also, it's fine, but
Yes.
it's always better to have it on time.
Yes.
Okay. And also, if I come in contact with a COVID infected person, should I get tested for the COVID-19 before taking the vaccine?
So if you happen to be a high risk contact of a positive patient, you should follow all the protocols. Like here in our state, the protocol is that you should be declaring yourself as a high risk contact of a positive case, remain in isolation, but get the vaccine, get tested also, but get the vaccine without even waiting for the result.
Also, we'd want to know what documents are required for registration of eligible beneficiary.
All forms of ID proof, like your Aadhaar card, your driving license, your bank passbook, your PAN card, or even your service ID, these kind of IDs are all like it's acceptable in for yourself to get registered in COWIN. And I also want to mention that even those who don't have any ID, you can get vaccinated. You have to just report yourself to the nearest health center, or if the CMO's office is nearby, you need to go there, just submit your name, give your details, and then a session will be conducted for persons without ID. So what this means is that ID is not going to be the barrier to get vaccinated for anyone. For those with an ID also, they can get vaccinated. For those without ID also, special sessions will be created to get vaccinated.
So coming to an end of this conversation, we also want to know if the vaccine provides herd immunity.
Herd immunity, yes. So when a sufficient number of people in a community are vaccinated against any vaccine for that matter, against any disease, for that matter, then we would say that the herd immunity of that community, the immunity of that community is good enough against that particular disease. So as of now, for COVID, we cannot say that magic number, like that it should be 90% or 99% of vaccination in a community. But for certain diseases, like coming back to measles, for measles it is very clear that we need a vaccination coverage of at least 95% in a community to be assured that this community is protected against measles. So since we don't know as of now for COVID, we should just take it for granted that our COVID vaccination coverage should be close to 100% to be assured that yes, everyone in this community is protected.
Also, like I said, coming to an end of this conversation, when we talk about vaccine inoculation or vaccine administration, India has crossed 100 crore mark now. But when you talk about vaccination in Nagaland, the percentage is still so low, and it also has a lot to do with creating awareness in the far-flung areas in Nagaland also. So how could we reach to those parts in creating more awareness about the effectiveness of the vaccine or the importance of taking the COVID-19 vaccine? What could be done?
Yes. So for the vaccination coverage of Nagaland, yes, it is really low. Till now, our first dose coverage is at 59%. So that is still very low, and we have seen that there are there's been too much information available to everyone, mostly through social media, and when too much technical information is given too freely, that is when a lot of things get misinterpreted, and people like in the far-flung areas and all, also they just hear part of it, and that is what is causing a lot of hurdles in the vaccination program for the department, or even other people who are working for the cause of this vaccination program, to try and convince people to get vaccinated. Like there are a lot of rumors which we cannot change their minds anymore, that the vaccine will not cause this kind of harm, but a lot of people are still not convinced. So what is being done is that in every village, in every community, there are some influencers. So influencers are people who, it could be the gauburas, it could be the pastors, it could be teachers, it could be anyone to whom the community respects and looks up to. So what could be done is that we need to explain and make the influencers understand. Yes, we do have a lot of influencers who are already working hand in hand with the department and working for the community, trying to convince the people to take, but there are still some who are not convinced, and it is not something that the health department can do alone. Also, it needs everyone, the community, to work together to spread the correct facts about this vaccine, and that how it can save lives, because what the evidence that we have is that in this second wave, out of all the COVID deaths that have occurred, 87% of them have not been vaccinated. So this clearly proves that those who were not protected have unfortunately gone into the serious stage and have even expired due to COVID. So we don't want more and more people going into that same fate. So what we need to do is, like, yes, social media is full of facts that is good for you, is you need to take 2 doses and all these kind of things, but in addition to that, there is a lot of data that is available in the public domain by the health department, even by the war room, the COVID war room website. So out there's a lot of data on the current status of our state. So there we can clearly see where we lie, and this proves that till now, because since our vaccination coverage is still very low, and a lot of our interior districts the coverage is still even lower, we need to convince them that, see, whatever data we have right now, we see that almost all those people, 87% of those people who have expired have not been vaccinated. So please get vaccinated, because COVID vaccination, it does not mean that you will not get infected. You may or may not get infected, but it will prevent a person from going into that severe form of illness and even hospitalization and death. So what could be done, as I was coming back to your question, what could be done is to support in every way in spreading awareness that the pandemic has not come to an end yet. Right now we have very few cases being reported, but you have to remember, we have the festive season coming up. We have the Hornbill celebration where there will be a lot of crowding, and so if we are not careful, there could be again a surge in cases. So by that time, if we can raise our vaccination coverage, at least we can be assured that more and more of our people are protected. We should not be complacent.
So that's all we have for today's talk show. Thank you so much, Doctor, for coming and enlightening us more on the COVID vaccine. And I'm pretty hopeful that our viewers are now, pretty much clear on the doubts they had on the COVID vaccine, and also know more about the importance of, importance to get vaccinated. So that's all we have for today's show for Unfiltered. For other news, please keep watching Hornbill TV.